Good evening. My name is Joe Gloria, Registrar of Voters in Clark County, Nevada. We appreciate you dialing in for the virtual town hall this evening. We're here tonight to provide information related to the election and the options that you have for voting. This election, all active registered voters will receive a mail ballot. As a result of AB 4 in the legislative session that was passed, we will be doing the same thing that we did in the primary election by sending mail ballots out to all voters. That's important for everybody to know. But we will be using voting machines during the early voting in person and on election day. You can mail your ballot back to us, or you can bring the ballot back to a drop-off location. Do not put any identifying marks on your ballot, such as a signature. Sign the return envelope, not the ballot. Whichever option you choose to use for voting, make sure you give yourself lots of time to research the ballot. You need to be prepared to vote. This is the longest ballot that any voter has seen in Clark County. No matter what district you live in, there are over 70 races that you'll need to vote on before you send your ballot back to us. And if you're voting in person, it's important that you know going into the voting machine exactly what you plan to do when you vote, to limit the time that you wait in order to get in to vote. Please use your sample ballot as a reference if you choose to vote in person, not your mail ballot. And of course, if you're not registered to vote, or you need to update your information, it's important that you take care of that as soon as possible. The deadline for registering in our office or on a mail registration form to send it back to us is October 6th. It must be postmarked by October 6th when you send that back to us. After that, the only option that you'll have to register to vote will be online or in person using same-day registration at any early voting site or on election day. It's also important to mention to you that for those of you who've had difficulty getting to DMV to get a reissued license as a result of expiration, the grace period has been extended by DMV so that if it is expired between the dates of March 12th to November 12th, we will still use that as a valid ID. That is also the case if you're planning on doing anything online. So those of you who've had trouble getting into DMV to get a reissued license, you will be able to use an expired license dated March 12th through November 12th. Now at this point, we'd like to show a video we prepared about how to vote your mail ballot.
Hello, I'm Joe Gloria, Registrar of Voters in Clark County, Nevada. We're here today to give you some information on the mailers that will be sent to you leading up to the November 3rd general election, and also run through the mail ballot packet and give you a run through on exactly how to correctly go through and mark your ballot and send it back in to be processed and counted for the November 3rd election. First off, the mailers that you'll be receiving at the end of September include your sample ballot, which has information on your early voting and election day locations, your actual ballot that you will be eligible to vote for, all contests and candidates, and other information related to voting in general. The second mailer that you'll be receiving at about the same time is the mail ballot supplement. And this supplement includes instructions on mail-in voting and also all of the language for the questions that you'll be voting for in this election. Important to note that there are 5 questions on your ballot that you'll be marking. However, they run 1 through 4. Question 5 is canceled, and then it goes to question 6. That is very clearly notated in your sample ballot and on the ballot that you will actually be voting. And then more importantly, you're going to be receiving a mail-in packet. All active registered voters in Clark County will be receiving this. This is exactly what that document looks like that you'll be receiving in the mail. You'll notice that this particular mailer is identifying a voter who is ID required. Not all voters in Nevada are required to show ID at the polling place. So be sure that if it is marked ID required on the mailer that you receive, that you're providing us a copy of your Nevada driver's license or ID, along with any of the alternate IDs that are clearly indicated in the instructions we provide. Inside of each of your mail-in packets, you will receive a return envelope. Very important for all voters to understand. Do not sign your actual ballot. You will be signing on the back of your return envelope at this X, clearly putting your signature here so that we have it to identify your signature and verify your identity. This mailer is postage paid. So if you choose to drop this in a mailbox, it'll make it safely to the election department. We have no reason to believe that the U.S. Post Office will have any trouble getting these back to us. However, if you would prefer to drop this off in person, we are also providing you with a mail ballot drop-off listing. Very easy for all voters to remember without even looking at this schedule. All early voting sites, as well as all election day vote centers, will serve as mail ballot drop-off locations. Please don't wait in line with those people who are waiting to vote in person. Go directly to the front. There will be a staffer manning the mail ballot drop-off, and you simply have to drop off the ballot. They will confirm that it is sealed, and they'll confirm that you have signed the envelope before dropping it in the box, and that will be securely delivered back to our office. Also provided in your mail-in packet will be a flyer that gives you instructions on what to do if you need to cure your ballot. If you have not signed your ballot, or if the signature does not match the signature we have on file, these instructions will tell you what you need to do in order to correct that. As provided by the Secretary of State, we do have an electronic tool, a mobile application that you can also use to quickly fill out the affidavit, sign it, and take a picture of your ID and send that back electronically so that we can cure your ballot. Also included is the secrecy sleeve, and making use of all of the paper that's on the secrecy sleeve, we've also provided the instructions that you need to follow in order to fill out your ballot. On the outside of the secrecy sleeve is your I voted sticker. Please be sure and detach that sticker before you send your ballot back to us. Wear it prominently throughout the day, or put it wherever you want to display that you've expressed your voice in the community and voted in Clark County. And finally, you'll receive a mail ballot. This is a sample of the mail ballot that all voters will be receiving. It's important to note for all voters that there are 2 cards to every ballot. Whether you're voting both cards, you still need to send back both of these cards to the election department. And I would emphasize to you that you do not want to put any identifying marks on either of these ballots. So as I flip these, you will see that there is voting contests on both sides of the cards that we're providing. To mark selections on the ballot, be sure that you're making use of a blue or black ink pen, no felt tip pens, and no red ink, and simply mark the red oval to the right of the candidate of your choice. On this sample ballot, I've already used my ink pen to mark the candidate of my choice under president. You can clearly see that I filled in the red oval, which you need to do for all contests. Go through the entire ballot, mark the contests in the same manner all the way through. If for some reason you notice that you've made a decision that you did not want to make, what I've also done here is correctly make a change to my ballot. And you do that by simply drawing through the candidate that you did not want to choose. In this case, I did not want to vote no, I wanted to vote yes. So you draw a line through that candidate and then mark the red oval to the right of the candidate that you want to choose. That is the correct way for you to make corrections on your ballot. Once you've voted the ballot, you want to go ahead and fold this up, removing the receipts that are on the top. I'm going to switch samples here to a ballot where I've already removed the voting receipts that the voter should keep as a receipt that they've voted their ballot. These stay with the voter. However, if you forget to tear those off, it will not impact the processing of your ballot. So now that I've removed those, I'm ready to fold the ballot according to the folds that are already printed on the ballot. Taking my privacy sleeve, I'm simply going to insert it inside of the privacy sleeve so that when this is returned to us, the privacy of your ballot is protected. And then I insert it in the return envelope. Be sure that you seal your ballot. And again, I emphasize, you're going to sign here at the bottom on this red X with your signature so that we can verify this signature with the signatures on file to verify your identity before we process and count this ballot. Once you've done that, again, you can either make use of the postage paid envelope and drop this in the mail by November 3rd in order for it to be returned to our office. If you decide to drop it off in person, again, all of the early voting and election day sites will have mail ballot drop-off locations for you to make use of. One other item that I want to point out on the back of this envelope, as a result of changes that were made in AB 4 in the special session, anybody that you trust will reliably turn this ballot in for you at the mail ballot drop-off location or in a postal box can turn this ballot in for you. So this box that we have here is no longer necessary. Previously, you had to have a family member do that for you. But in order to make it easier for folks to get their ballots turned in, you no longer have to do it with a family member. Anybody can turn this ballot in for you, but you do not need to sign this area. So placing this into the mailbox or into a mail ballot drop-off box will start the process for you. We'll get to work on processing it and getting your ballot counted. Again, I'm Joe Gloria, Registrar of Voters in Clark County. We hope that all voters in Clark County will take advantage of either voting through the mail or voting in person during early voting or election day to make their voice heard in the community. I would remind you that if you have any questions related to your ballot, you should contact our office directly at 702-455-VOTE, and we will be happy to help you with any issues related to your ballot. Thank you.
And now I'll take some questions from the general public. The first question is, where will voters be able to drop off their mail ballots if they do not want to return them by mail? The easiest way to remember where you can do a mail ballot drop-off is that all early voting sites that are scheduled and all of the vote centers, all 125 of them, will provide mail ballot drop-off locations. Remember that I mentioned that you will receive a mail ballot drop-off listing as well in with your mail ballot packet, but it's very easy to make that drop-off. Again, I emphasize, do not wait in line with those people who are waiting to vote in person. Move to the front of that line and there'll be a staffer inside that's prepared to take your ballot. I received a postcard from the U.S. Postal Service saying I need to request my ballot, but you said we are automatically being sent one. What's going on? That is a very good question. And unfortunately, the U.S. Post Office decided to send a postcard out to all 50 states, and there are many differences from state to state. You do not need to send in a mail ballot request for this election. As a result of AB 4, we are sending mail ballots out to all active registered voters. So you do not need to follow the directions on that postcard. No mail ballot request is necessary. What happens if a ballot is not signed or the signature doesn't match? We're statutorily required now to send information to the voter indicating to them that they either did not sign their ballot or that the signature did not match the signatures that we have on file. So in order to cure that ballot, as I mentioned in the video, the Secretary of State has provided a very useful tool so that you can do that electronically through the mobile app. The mobile app instructions will be on the flyer that we provide in the mail, and you go to that mobile app and you'll sign the affidavit, and then using your smart device, you will take a picture of your Nevada State ID and send that to us to a secure site where my staff can then download it and cure your ballot. And no, it does not need to be done in person. You contact our office, follow the instructions that we provide to you. If We notify you that you have not signed or that the signature does not match. Also, if you've provided an email or a phone number in your voter registration record, we will also try to contact you that way as well. Can a person deliver someone else's mail ballot to the election department? The answer to that question is yes. As a result of AB 4 again, used to be that a family member was required to turn in the ballot. However, to make it easier for folks to get that ballot back to us if they choose not to do it themselves or cannot do it themselves, they want to make a wise decision in who they give that ballot to, but they can have anyone return that ballot to us, either to put it in a mailbox or send it to a mail ballot drop-off location. What steps have been taken to clean the voter rolls of non-citizens? When you register to vote, it's an affidavit that you're signing, and the requirements are very clear exactly what you need to meet as far as to be eligible to vote. One of those things that you state on that affidavit when you sign is that you are a U.S. citizen. And so once they put that registration form, according to law, we have to put it into the registration. The follow-up question on that is, has the county reached out to federal departments to cross-match citizen records with the county voter rolls? No such database exists. If it did, we would certainly make use of it, but no such database that we can match our records against, either at the local, state, or federal level, exists. How do we register to vote if we do not have a Nevada driver's license? Leading up to the deadline for October 6th, you can send in a mail ballot or a mail voter registration form, which is available on our website and also the Secretary of State's website, or go to the many locations where we have those forms available, which includes our office and the city clerks and many post offices, and send that back to us by October 6th. On that form, you'll need to make sure that you're putting the last four of your Social Security number and signing the affidavit, getting it back to us with the correct residential address. As long as you do that by October 6th, you will not be required to have a Nevada ID. After that point, your only opportunity to register is online and also through same-day registration on election day or during early voting, and you will be required to have an ID for that registration. If I receive a mail ballot but I want to vote in person, can I? Certainly. We have made good efforts to make sure that we improve on our process from the primary. In the primary election, we only had one election day site or 3 election day sites and 1 early voting site. In comparison now, in the general, we'll have 35 sites available through the 14-day period, and also on election day, there will be 125 vote centers throughout the valley. A reminder to you, we use vote centers in Clark County now. So it does not matter which location you go to vote in person, your ballot will be available. And if you do show up to vote in person, you can either bring your mail ballot that you received in the mail with you to surrender it at the polling place. But if you do not bring it with you, you'll simply have to sign an affidavit that clearly states that you do not intend to send that mail ballot in. Remember that it's against the law to vote twice in any election. So either choose to vote by mail or vote in person. If I use the mail ballot to vote in this election, what do I need to make sure I do? Well, following the guidelines that I put in the video, what's most important that you do is make sure that you sign the return envelope. On the outside of that return envelope, that's the signature that we use to make sure that your identity matches what we have in the system. So that's the number one thing that you need to make sure and do. Then you need to make sure and get that ballot turned into us before the deadline. Whether you're dropping it in the post office mailbox or delivering it to a mail ballot drop-off, the deadline to have that dropped off at the drop-off or in the post office postmarked is November 3rd. We can accept any mail that comes in all the way through November 10th to make sure that we're giving plenty of opportunity for that postmarked ballot to get in. And if you make it to a mail ballot drop-off, as long as it's deposited by Election Day, November 3rd, we'll get it processed and counted. Are we able to track our mail ballot to make sure it reached you on time? Yes. either using the Secretary of State's website or my website. You can log into Registered Voter Services at our website and check the status of your ballot. It takes time for us to process that ballot and get it scanned into the system to show what the status of that ballot is once we've received it. So once you mail it, you need to give 3 or 4 days at a minimum before you can check the status and see how we've received it and whether it's being processed to be counted. When will we know who won the election? Unofficial results will be released on election night, and that will represent the in-person voting that took place during early voting and on election day, minus the provisional ballots. Mail ballots will continue to be counted well after election day because we have to process all of the mail ballot drop-offs and anything that comes through the mail until after the election. So the official report will be sent to the County Commission for canvass on November 16th. So that's when the official results will be available for all to see. When will the mail ballots be counted? Again, as a result of AB4, they've increased the amount of time that we have here in Clark County to count those ballots. So 15 days prior to Election Day, we will begin to tabulate ballots, but not release counts on results. We will have the number of people who have voted by mail. However, we won't release any totals until election night when we've received confirmation from the Secretary of State's office that all 17 counties have finished voting. After election night, we will continue to release periodic results as far as the status on the counts related to what is being counted on a daily basis. That first report will be available the Thursday after Election Day, which would be November 5th. How's the training and staffing coming along for the election workers? We've received a tremendous response from the general public, and we're very happy to report that it looks like we'll be able to find enough workers for both the early voting and Election Day process. However, we are definitely in need of people who can translate in Spanish and Filipino, which we're federally required to support. And also, we're looking to set up a special hotline, although we're not mandated to do so. We're going to proactively work to try to provide support for those native languages in Vietnamese, Korean, and Mandarin. So if you have any of those abilities to translate and you're willing to work, please contact our office and let us know that you're willing to support and work the polls. Will there be information about election observers available? Basically, for any part of the process, anybody who wants to observe the election, either early voting or Election Day, they simply need to check in with the team leader at any of those sites. They'll have to sign some documentation and, of course, follow the rules. We'll have a designated location in all of our polling places where those observers can watch. They cannot disrupt the polling place while they're observing, and they cannot interact with voters while they're in the process of signing in and casting their ballot. If you need additional information, feel free to call our office at 702-455-VOTE. What safety precautions are being taken to protect voters from COVID-19? We've had tremendous support from the county and our MAC department that is providing PPE to all departments. We are very happy to report there is no shortage of supplies, and we are prepared to provide face masks, face shields, plenty of disinfectant, and plenty of signage to make sure that we keep people socially distanced as they're waiting in line, and also to disinfect all hard surfaces at all of the polling places. So please feel comfortable that if you do choose to vote in person, that there will be a safe polling place. However, I will encourage you, if you're at all concerned about being in large groups as a result of the pandemic, this is the main reason why we've provided you with a mail-in ballot. Take advantage of that mail-in ballot and send it back to us. When will I receive my mail ballot? The out-of-state, or actually the overseas ballots are going to be going out this weekend. We met the deadline requirement, and out-of-state ballots will begin going out the following week. All of the local ballots will begin dropping into the mail on October 7th. So after that point, I would Give it at least 5 or 6 days, and if you have not received your ballot and you know you should have received one, you need to begin to contact our office. Contact our office directly so that we can make arrangements to either send you a new ballot or send one electronically to you so that you can vote it and get it back to us to cast your ballot. I want to thank you for joining us tonight at our town hall. I hope that I provided some valuable information related to the election and giving you the options that you can take advantage of, whether you're voting by mail or whether you're voting in person during early voting or on election day. As always, information about the coming election is also available on our website, which is www.clarkcountynv.gov/vote, or you can always call my office at 702-455-VOTE. Please exercise your right to vote. Don't lose your voice in the community. Come out and vote.